Hey there, Film Buds. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. I'm your host, Paul.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are continuing on with the new year. It's still 2023. And we recently had, in big sort of events and in terms of media news, it's award season, finally kicking off as well.
Exciting as always.
It feels like it was just yesterday that award season was here, and it's back again.
Time is a flat circle.
It comes sooner and sooner every year, and it's kind of almost, for me, getting like Christmas. Like, I wish that we could pare it back a little. But, c'est la vie, here we are. There were recently the Golden Globe Awards earlier this month, like January 10th. And then just, I think last week or this weekend, there were the Critics' Choice Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So we're officially underway in that sort of time of year. Dear, how are you doing?
I am doing well. It's end of last year, end of quarter at my job, so it's all about, getting out all of those, what you really want for Christmas is your end of year statement.
Have you been keeping up with award season?
No, not even a little bit. This is what I've been doing all day is printing out end of year statements. I think keeping up with award season would require actually remembering what the fuck comes out in a year.
That's fair.
I feel like that would be a part of the job requirements. And I think that, like, for me, these awards almost got tainted by last year's my own realization that most people don't watch all the stuff. How can you truly judge anything on whether or not it is good if you've never watched it?
Yeah.
And I think that for me just kind of just sealed it. I was like, oh, well, then all of this is just some weird joke. And, there's no legitimacy to it. And I deal with numbers on a regular basis, and so there is no math here. This is purely flip of the coin shit, I swear.
Lord of mine. No, that's entirely fair. I've been keeping up with it tangentially. Obviously, we haven't watched jointly any of the award shows live. We've watched some of the snippets of the Globes. We haven't really watched any footage from the Critics' Choice Awards.
No, honestly, and how do they keep up with all of them, really?
Oh, like, the actors themselves?
I mean, yeah. Is it? Do they make a schedule that all of these things have to come out in a certain order so that way none of them are overlapping?
Yeah. They all have to make sure that they book out weekends.
Good God.
Their people call their people.
Fantastic. That's what you want to hear.
So that way the Globes and the Oscars and all of that don't clash with each other, and I'm sure for some of them there's a little bit of a historical precedence set as well. And there's also usually an order, like typically certain award shows come out before other award shows. Usually the Academy Awards is the last one.
And that is the Oscars.
Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of, I guess, an answer to your question. Yes, there is definitely planning that goes into it. As far as how the actors keep track of them, there's actually a great clip of Cate Blanchett being told on the red carpet that if she wins, it'll be like her 4th or 5th Golden Globe win, and she's like, "Oh, will it be?"
It's too much. It's too much, and honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, at a certain point, it all becomes just like part of the job. You go, you do a movie. You know that it's going to be that type of movie, that it's going to come with this type of publicity tour that you're going to have to be a part of. And so I think that you definitely, at a certain point, probably do start to get a little bit white noise to it at a certain point.
I've never done anything that I needed like a tour after I've done the thing.
No.
You quit that job, but you still have to come to the holiday party.
Yeah. I write my book and then I have to go and tour and speak with my book, Never done that sort of thing.
No, but I don't write, so there's that.
No, but it's definitely a foreign concept. And then, you do, like, for certain things you do, in your year, depending on what you've done as an actor, you might have, like, a big blockbuster where you spend, like, your entire summer doing world premieres, hyping up, whatever big blockbuster that you've been in. And then you spend all of your award season, sort of time hyping up this other movie.
All I hear is literally politics. People running for political office.
Well, I guess you could count the box office as a certain type of voting. What people are and are not interested in.
I mean, yeah, but I guess it goes right back to my original point of, like, you gotta watch the shit in order to have a solid opinion about it.
No, absolutely. Then go into, like, award season to try and create some sort of, opinion. But moving on, we're not here to talk about award season, not directly. We are here to talk about someone who is affiliated with award season this go-round, Steven Spielberg. Spielberg, is currently in contention with The Fabelmans, his sort of semi-autobiographical coming-of-age story. And so we've dedicated January to going and doing sort of look back at his early work, the films that he made sort of right after where Fabelmans ends,
Mm-hmm.
And last week we did Duel, which is a great little thriller that he did based on a short story or like a novella. And this week we're instead doing the Sugarland Express, which is a based on a true story film.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess without any further ado, we should go ahead and jump on into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the Sugarland Express came out in 1974, so this is just a few years after Duel, which is like 71.
I honestly can't remember.
Dramatic effect.
We're gonna consult the notebook. 71, bam, right on the money.
There it is. So this is just 3 years after Duel, and the premise is a woman attempts to reunite her family by helping her husband escape prison and together kidnapping their son. But things don't go as planned when they are forced to take a police hostage on the road. It is a screen story by Spielberg, but the screenplay is by Hal Barwood and Matthew Robinson. And it stars Goldie Hawn as Lou Jean, William Atherton as Clovis, Michael Sachs as Slide, and Ben Johnson as Captain Tanner.
Wait, which one was the cop, though?
Slide.
Oh, is that... They just call him Slide? That's super funny. Okay, I thought he had a first name.
And like I said, this is a sort of based on a true story film, and it has a lot of similar thematic elements, or not thematic elements, but it has a lot of similar stylistic and tonal elements of Duel, but tells obviously a very, very different story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, without any further ado, I'll hand it off to you, dear. What did you think of the Sugarland Express? Were you familiar with the film in any capacity before this?
No, I had never heard of this movie before. You bringing it up for this episode. Honestly, I'm not really familiar with a lot of Steven's earlier works. I'm pretty much a blockbuster kid onward. I started Jaws, and that's where the cookie crumbles. I didn't really, I guess, know that he had done much else before this, before that, excuse me. And I really enjoyed this movie. It's a bit all over the place when it comes to the narrative, but the main focus is on this this almost celebritizing of this hostage situation. You know, it captivates the nation of Texas and probably further outskirts to that, but like it's definitely the vicinity of Texas that is really enthralled by this whole story of this mother who is, you know, going to great lengths to get her family back, and the main journey is like the description describes. It is getting her husband out of jail, and then they literally go on this like just cross country trek of Texas.
Yeah, it's a road chase, you know. It's a massive you know, sort of days long police pursuit.
But it's also so calm, you know, is the funny thing about it. And I think that that's the most fascinating part of this film for me, is the fact that this road trip just takes so long and has so many stops and is so calm compared to, you know, how we would film this today.
No, it definitely it was surprisingly it is surprisingly, I guess, to a degree, meandering, I guess would be a certain sort of phrase for it. You know, it gives and takes on the steam of how intense this pursuit is or isn't.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think you know, you fall in love with these two idiots of a couple who are just out here, you know, to get their kid back, who's been taken by the government, you know, and put in foster care with this other family. And, you know, they're not bright, these two, but they don't care about that because it's about family at the end of the day, you know, as crazy and as twisted as their story is about, it's about family. And I think that that's the thing that really wins people over to their side of it. And honestly, even the cop that they kidnap, you know, at the end, he is like, there was a moment where I was like, homie would just stay with them if that was an option.
No, for sure. Like he starts to he really does start to become enthralled with, not enthralled, but he starts to become charmed by this couple. You know, he starts to fall in love with their strange sort of folksy idiocy.
No, yeah, and there's almost like him living vicariously through them to a certain degree, where like I think that he starts to fall for Goldie Hawn's character and like almost envisions this life where it's like them.
Yeah, this sort of nice. I think that he enjoys their sort of simplicity to it all. You know, he lives as a cop. You know, it's this very, you know, for him comparatively high stakes, you know, sort of life as he sees it, and I think that he sees a lot of sort of odd whimsy in these people. That he finds very, he becomes smitten with it.
Yeah, and honestly, like this movie just has a lot of charm to it as well. You know, it definitely, I think, wins you over in a way that I wasn't expecting it. I think that this is probably the youngest Goldie Hawn performance I've ever seen. And by gum, Kate looks exactly like her. By gum, indeed. But she's great. She's great, honestly, because like I honestly can't think of a Goldie Hawn performance that I've seen where like Goldie Hawn didn't look like the Goldie Hawn of now.
Yeah.
You know, but I get what people see in her. You know, honestly, she's playing this Southern woman and just like so lovely, and because like that's not at all what I think of when I think of Goldie Hawn as a person.
No, you know, it definitely, I think, takes on a little bit more of this, you know, similar to Kate Hudson, you know, this more Valley Girl, you know, sort of sensibility a little bit more so.
Yeah, she's got these California dreams, you know. What did you think of the film?
So, Sugarland Express is one that I was familiar with, but I hadn't seen at all. I think that the only clips that I had ever seen in conjunction with this film were honestly things related to like the intense moments of the car pursuit. It's just, it's one of those movies that, like, and Steven made Sugarland Express is kind of how it feels for how this movie has always been handled whenever Spielberg has come up in a class or anything like that. To your point, it's often a hitting of the highlights, Jaws, if you watch Jaws in school or something like that. And a lot of times it's, again, just not one that they really pull a lot of clips from, when they're doing sort of look backs at his career. Because, again, they usually do the big ones in a retrospective. And so for whatever reason, I think I know why. But this one gets sort of overlooked, compared to all the others. They'll put in just about anything else before they might even put in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Before they put in...
Well, it's because it's new. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's one of his newer things, regardless of whether or not it deserves being up on that list. And it's his last Indiana movie.
Yeah,
exactly. It's fresh in people's minds. They were alive when it came out, whereas this thing, it's just a little iffy on whether or not you were alive and watching this thing. Us talking to your parents... it's always nice. It's a nice grounding force of when a movie comes out. Your mom being like, I was only 8 years old or whatever is like, oh, I don't really think about it, I guess, like that.
Well, then I decided to go and ask Iris.
Oh, interesting.
At my job, I've got a wonderful coworker. She is, she's older, she's older even than my parents. And so I asked her about Sugarland Express and whether or not she had seen it. And she was like, I think I have. And I sort of, explained it to her. And she was like, I don't know.
This is literally the forgotten toys shelf.
Yeah, I know.
Of Steven's movies.
Island of Misfit Toys sort of a movie.
Exactly.
For me, it's the equivalent of, I've got a great example of another famous director, same exact generation, who has another movie that's kind of exactly like this. He did a little bit of a movie before it. He did this movie. Then he went on and did another movie after it that really exploded his career and allowed him to go on to do everything that made him, who we're known for. Boxcar Bertha by Martin Scorsese. It's another romantic crime drama. This one's from 1972, so it's just a few years earlier. Mm-hmm. And it's about a girl who ends up freight hopping in the Great Depression era.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's right after Boxcar Bertha. He then goes on and does Mean Streets. And Mean Streets is one of the things that starts to open up the door for him to be able to do Taxi Driver.
Oh, interesting. And then that's where my Martin starts, is right there at Taxi Driver.
So it's this really similar, interesting, sort of thing that you've got going on here. And again, like Boxcar Bertha and to a certain extent Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, I think are ones that don't get quite as pulled up as often.
Well, also, at the end of the day, they're so early on the list. I think that's the problem when you have people who have such extensive careers.
Yeah.
And not like that this movie is bad.
No.
Or doesn't deserve to be on the list.
No. And so going into it, I didn't really have a lot of expectation other than it was an early Spielberg film. I had just seen Duel, which was better than I expected it to be. Mm-hmm. And this was a much different movie. This was a total different movie, much slower. You really stew with these characters, where he had no time with Duel. He has all the time with these people. Mm-hmm. And you do get to learn so much about them on this journey, and you do really get to bond with them. And at first, it can almost be a little bit ambling. Mm-hmm. But it really picks up, and once it picks up, it's cooking. And it's a really fantastic time. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I think that Steven is, he is wonderful at rollout shots of, paramilitary sort of things, And I think it's because he liked watching old war documentaries that, like, Steven, we gotta roll out some troops. We're gonna roll them out in fashion, man. So
That's
he
right.
knows how to make the military look like a parade. as it rolls out. And he does the same thing here with, like, all of the cops coming into formation as they roll out.
I think that's just a generational thing, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, being the next generation after the World War II generation.
Yeah, and, you know, like, one of his early films, he was splicing old war footage into it, you know? So, like, he was looking constantly at this kind of stuff. And it used to play in front of movies, to your point as well. They used to play war footage in newsreels right before the picture. So he was constantly seeing this kind of thing.
Yeah, honestly, it makes sense of why he really, you know, thank goodness he held on to this, you know.
But the motherfucker knows how to do a drum roll, you know what I mean? Like, the landing party of the hunters in the Lost World, you know, kind of thing. He knows how to put on that kind of, you know, bombastic grandeur. And he does it here to great effect. You know, it's simpler, but you see all the roots of him knowing how to do the right shots for the rollout, you know. And he has the great sensibility of chaos and fun and wackiness to a certain degree. You know, you can definitely also, I think, see where some of this movie goes on to inspire another generation of filmmakers, honestly, you know, with, like, the Coens and to a certain degree, Wes Anderson, where I think that you can see some fingerprints of this movie and some of the sensibilities of their storytelling.
No, I think that's totally fair.
And so for me, I actually really, really enjoyed it. I don't think that it's, like, a perfect movie. I think that I actually still preferred, you know, some other movies that he's done, obviously. But I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie by the end of it. Because I also wasn't sure early. Early on, I wasn't sure. But by the end, the movie sold me.
Yes. Yes, I think that's totally fair. Honestly, this movie really kind of grabbed me from the beginning, you know.
Because of Goldie?
Well, yeah, a little bit, you know. She's this, like, Spitfire energy in this film. It's really just lovely to watch her, you know, just have fun. And this was just so out of type for me. And it just, you know, I felt for this character a lot in an honest way. This fight that this mother was taking, but also this was the life that she wanted, you know, them driving through these towns and people giving her things just because, you know, and, like, because she asked for it or didn't, you know, this once in a lifetime opportunity to be the most important person. And you can see it on her face that, like, nobody has ever treated her like that. And this is just something to be treasured. And when everything, you know, hits the fan, it's such a heartbreaking moment to watch.
Yeah, I think that it has this, especially more so, what's really interesting is I think that a lot of Steven's earlier films, and all of his films do, but I think definitely his early films really live and breathe on a lot of cynicism. You know, very, very directly. Duel, this toxic interaction on the road, this personified figure of this, you know, menaced truck driver and menacing truck driver. You know, this man whose manhood is challenged by everything, finally, you know, getting to the point of conflict that becomes deadly. And then you move on to this, and you've got the injustice of parts of the criminal system and the social work, you know, sort of cycle. And you've got some of the cynicism of the 15 minutes of fame, you know, and the glitz and the glamour before calamity. Spectacle.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really fascinating, you know, how he ties it all together, and he does give an ending that is honest to the story that, you know, certainly doesn't shy away from it. And, you know, even Steven today, I think, for the most part, doesn't really pull punches with endings. You know, if he wants to make it sad, he'll make it sad. And I think he really knows how to strike a tone. And ultimately, I think that the audience character, to a degree, is both of the cops. Kind of. Slide and Captain Tanner. Mm-hmm. You're falling in love with them as your Slide, but then you're also Captain Tanner going, there's no way that this is going to end well.
No, yeah, there's still checks and balances.
And he's constantly doing everything he can to de-escalate it, to make it not have a bad ending. Mm-hmm. But the entire time, he's sitting there, just like you are, going, this is fun, but it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
And I think that he knows how to really do fantastic plate spinning with that. And with those sensibilities and those emotions. And I think he seals it off well without also being fatalistic.
No, yeah, honestly, like, I agree with everything you said. I think that this movie just, I love the, like, magicalness of it. You know, this, because at the end of the day, it is very honest and true and real, but it also has this otherworldly quality to it of, you know, when it's good, everything's going good, you feel that good. You know, it's good for everybody. And
when it hits the brakes.
Yeah, you know, you get your teeth kicked in. I see where a lot of other Steven movies come from this, but I think it's fascinating that, like, we remember this man so fervently on, like, Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, like, the first one, great. Second one, garbage. You know, it's really, like, a amazing, like, a swing and a miss.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, you know, I wonder, for him as a creative, where did it go awry? You know, you had this good base. You know, you doing this, you done Duel, you know, which is honestly at the end of the day the step before this. It's got much less dialogue. It's got much less character interaction. We've literally got a character.
We're mechanizing all of the chase elements, and we're finding ways to escalate it and de-escalate it.
Exactly. You know, we're learning how to drive stick, but we're not on the open road yet. And, like, this is like the next step. You know, we've got more characters that we're dealing with. We've got you know, a more complex story happening. And then you know, we go into doing, you know, the classics, the Jaws era, E.T.
Literally, Jaws is next.
Yeah. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then we get all the way down to, like, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You know, what was going through your head right there? Because then a few years later you do Jurassic Park, and that's fantastic. You know, are you...
No, Last Crusade is there. Then he does Jurassic Park. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is here.
Oh, I was just transposing movies right there. That's fine. I'm thinking of Temple of Doom. It's right before The Color Purple. He has to do, like, a stinker right before doing something good.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because, you know, 1941 is his acclaimed failed comedy film. It was a World War I era sort of comedy starring Belushi and Aykroyd, written by Zemeckis. And
Robert Zemeckis.
It's one of his big all-time stinkers. Like, this one is a wah, wah, sad trombone.
And then we've got Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that's so fascinating how it's just this, like, up and down. He's almost M. Night Shyamalan all over the place, you know, like.
And he's, you know, to your point, he is really remembered for the big things. Ready Player One, West Side Story, you know, Indiana Jones. But in between all of that, he also does have, you know, all of his random, of course, historical films. Amistad. Lincoln. The Color Purple. So he really does oscillate into all of these places, but he never really does anything, in my opinion, quite like the Sugarland Express again.
No, yeah, it was just really pure and honest, and I think that's because he was so young doing it. Where, like, you know, we got all the way down to him doing the BFG, and I think we've, like, officially lost it.
The BFG is one of Steven Spielberg's worst movies, can't confirm.
I've seen it.
Yeah, me too.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it's one of his worst ones.
And you can't tell me that it doesn't stand for big fucking guy.
That's right. And so, you know, he's an interesting director, and to your point, I do definitely see where he goes with this. I think that this is also a good time to bring up that I think that it should be brought up, at least very briefly, that he does, of course, know how to tell a good story. It is based on historical events. We play fast and loose, you know, the names are different as well. Our real life people are Lou Jean Poplin, Lou Jean Poplin and Clovis Michael Poplin are in real life Ilfay Holiday / Dent, and Robert Bobby Dent. And Slide is J. Kenneth Crone. In real life, there was no prison break. And also, in real life, the husband is shot and killed outside of her parents' house as they stopped to visit children that she had from a previous marriage.
Copy. Oh my gosh. Hold on. That name was fantastic, though. We've got to go back to it. Isla Faye Holiday. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Those people knew how to play a joke. Play for the back of the audience right there with that one. Amazing name.
Mm-hmm. And so that's some of the real, you know, event there. For me, some of this story made me think of, like I said, Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
And Raising Arizona leans much more into, like, the farce element of the idea. Mm-hmm. Whereas this is definitely telling it honestly.
I think that
and sincerely.
There's a Natalie Portman movie that I can never remember the name of. But it's, like, early Natalie Portman, just after her being, like, a teenager, where she's this pregnant woman who ends up, like, living in a Walmart for a time. And this movie kind of reminds me of that, because it's this, you know, it's Southern sensibility to it. You know, it doesn't have really a lot of places to go very urgently. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is how this film is for me, you know. They literally have such a huge car chase that's going like 25 miles per hour at some points, you know. It's almost a parade.
You bring up that sort of slow, ambling Southern sensibility. I equate that also to Logan Lucky.
Yes. The slowest heist, Kentucky Fried Heist.
Yeah. And so that one for me also is another, and I think that you're spot on with that sort of analysis. If you had to rate Sugarland Express out of 5, what would you give it?
I'm gonna give Sugarland Express a 4. I think that this movie has a lot of charm. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are some really top-notch performances in this film. But also, I think that this movie has a lot of just people doing people stuff for a really long time, to the point where you almost get distracted by all of that and you forget why they're on this journey in the first place. You know? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, for me, I don't know if this movie is perfect. Mm-hmm. But I think that this movie has a lot of heart.
I think that's fair. I'm going to go with a 3.75.
Oh my gosh, wow, you're really dividing it down.
Oh, yeah. I liked it. It won me over, warts and all.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Is that it? Is that all you have to say about it? Oh my gosh. You really paused, and I was like, yeah, he's got more to say. All right, never mind. Phenomenal.
No, to give an earnest final note, I suppose. For me, this was also kind of like, even though Duel was his first movie, you know, it was released theatrically, internationally, it was on TV. This was his first movie in a theater. And for me, it kind of has that bottle rocket sensibility. I know where this director is going. And so going back and seeing this as like his first, you know, sort of big theatrical release, it's fascinating to see, because it does have everything that Steven, you know, is going to use moving forward. This is the beginning of his relationship with John Williams. And it does have a very good John Williams score. You know, and it does properly sound like a John Williams score. Even all the way back then, you know.
He was never going to slack on it.
An icon. And so, one of a kind, folks. One of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I truly love this movie for, I think, how much it makes the characters just likable.
Mm-hmm.
And how it does everything that it wants to, I think, very successfully for the most part. And I think that all of the positives about this movie definitely outweigh a majority of the negatives.
That's right. By 0.25%. No.
Listen. My show, my rules. So
Exactly. You tell the people what's what.
I guess with all of that said, I did want to, of course, talk briefly about, like I said, awards season. We've got a few, not terribly many, but a handful of differing opinions on some things in regards to the Globes and the Critics' Choice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our acting awards are the same.
Okay.
Austin Butler Elvis, Kate Blanchett Tar, Colin Farrell, the Banshees of Inisherin, the Blanchetts of Inisherin. I'd watch that movie as well. Michelle Yeoh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Ki Hai Kwan, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Angela Bassett in what I would consider a surprise, but I haven't seen the movie, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Then, of course, you move over to Critics' Choice. You still have, of course, Kate Blanchett, Ki Hai Kwan, Angela Bassett. But then one of the big change-ups that you have is Brendan Fraser for The Whale.
Mm-hmm.
Over Colin Farrell. One of your change-ups also in the two is the Golden Globes for Best Director went for Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, and they went for the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. They also differed on Best Picture. I'm sure that you can assume that given that they went for Everything Everywhere All at Once with Best Director, they also did for Best Picture with the Critics' Choice, and they did. But the Globes went for The Fabelmans for drama and the Banshees of Inisherin for comedy. Now, how much of a comedy that movie is...
I guess really depends on your definition of comedy.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a very flexible, perhaps, definition.
I mean, I haven't seen the movie. You know, I don't know how funny it's supposed to be.
I know that we put some Martin McDonagh things into comedy. Most Martin McDonagh things into comedy. But, like, In Bruges only barely clears the line for me of being a comedy.
No, because it's too busy being a Scrooge story.
And so I think that it's interesting that this one ended up clearing that line. for people at large, I suppose. And for drama, they went with The Fabelmans, which I understand why, but I think it's also, again, a little bit surprising. But Everything Everywhere All at Once was in comedy, and they went with that for comedy. So who knows? Maybe in larger, undivided picture races, Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to end up being like more of a winner, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, I think that it was truly just like this, you know, spectacular kind of film, you know, that really stuck out for people.
In a really funny thing about the Globes going into the Critics' Choice is that several attendees at the Globes ended up catching COVID there and then were unable to attend the Critics' Choice Awards.
That's what happens when you don't wear masks on a maximum scale.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, thousands of people, you know, with those sorts of events.
Yeah.
So
who's got COVID?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
Colin Farrell.
Yep.
I guess it's good that he didn't win. He wasn't missed on stage.
Oh, stop.
But that's a little bit of what's, you know, sort of shaping up to be the season so far. I'll be curious to see where some other things go. You know, Critics' Choice, I don't know, take or leave, I guess, in my opinion, their level of sway, but who am I to say? That was a rhyme.
It was.
And I did it just in time.
Nailing it.
Thank you. I think that's just about everything that I have for y'all. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Next week, because the show has already done Jaws, we will not be doing Jaws. If you want to listen to our Jaws episode, you can go and listen to it independently. We also reviewed Flipper with that episode.
Yeah, and The Shallows.
Yeah, that's right. It's a trifecta of sharks.
Yep. And guess what season it's in? I won't tell.
Spoiler alert, winter.
That's right.
So, with all that said, we'll catch y'all next week for another Steven Spielberg episode. Dear, do you have anything that you would like to tell the dear people?
I don't know. Our cat has been very, very much not deciding on whether or not he wants to be in. and it's been a very big distraction this entire recording. That's just a little behind the scenes stuff that's been going on.
It's a battle with our anxious cat.
Literally.
Of whether he wants to be inside.
He's like, I don't,
or
but
outside.
I do, but I don't.
Or inside.
And it's been getting worse as the recording is gone.
Yeah.
So that's my little.
It's
my
like
little
a haunting
fact.
Escalating.
Honestly.
He's my La Llorona.
That's right. He's the crying woman. That's right. That's our cat. But that's it. You know. What Steven Spielberg's movies do you like? Only the big ones? Or do you like some obscure shit?
You can tell us if you hit us up on social media or via email. Links down below at thefilmbuds@gmail.com, etc.
Etc.
You've got fingers, Google works.
You know.
And next week, because I don't believe that we've done Close Encounters, I think that'll probably be next.
Okay.
Maybe
TBD.
we did do Close Encounters.
TBD, I think we might have.
I think we might have as well. Who knows? Maybe we'll do the Flop-a-Doo. Maybe we'll do 1941 itself. Let's see Steven at his worst.
Ooh.
I think that sounds exciting.
Yeah, it does.
So we'll catch you guys next week. Stay safe out there. Be good to everyone. New Year's resolutions are silly. Don't beat yourself up if you lapse up on it. Just worry about being better little by little every day.
Ooh, that one was better than mine. Good job. Gold star for you.
We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.